Hello, I hope you are all doing wonderfully. Before the video starts, I know it's not typical of me to add messages at the beginning of my recordings, but this one needs one. The following stories are not meant for those faint of heart or for children. So if you're under the age of 18, please click out. I would greatly appreciate it, just because my conscience would feel a little bit better if you didn't listen to this video. It includes explicit content. To those of you who want to send me your stories, please see my email in the link below. I always welcome them. I would also like to add a big thank you to the ladies who sent in these stories. And please, everyone who is listening to these, be polite in the comments. I usually never have an issue as far as comments on stories, but I really do need to emphasize that this time, because these are some of my subscribers that were kind enough to share their situations with all of us here. So keep it respectful as always. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful week, everyone, or rather a wonderful rest of your week. So without further ado, I present to you my very first subscriber story video. Markbot out. I apologize, I am not the best writer. When I was a sophomore, the school had a new English teacher for the second semester, and I was lucky, or unlucky enough to get him. He had your stereotypical Cali surfer / pothead kind of personality. He was real good looking, long hair, buff body. At the time, I didn't think anything of this and was kind of oblivious as my parents sheltered me from the world. His gaze would always linger on me when he scanned the room while teaching us. He would give me extra credit just for being unique. One situation in particular I remember was, we were writing an essay with a partner, and I did my entire portion upside down. I got extra credit for that. I got extra credit for pretty much everything. There is no way I would have gotten more than a 90 in his class. I passed his class with 104%. Just for all the extra credit he would give me. He would never call me by my name. I was always sweetie or sweetheart. Probably the reason I have such an aversion to that sentiment. I had his class on my birthday. He was the only teacher to get me a gift. He gave me a single red rose and a little card that said, "I'm so happy you're in my class. Wish we had more time together." I ripped off the card and shoved it in my bag before anybody else saw it. I was able to do that because I was always the first in the class, as my previous class was just across the hall. My entire class all wanted to know who got me the rose, and I told them it was our teacher, Will. They all erupted in singing the stupid childish song, Leneva and Will, kissing in a tree, Kissing. You get the picture. Yeah, my classmates were real mature. I was super embarrassed and was red the entire rest of the day. When I got home, my mom asked me who got me the rose. I panicked and told her one of my friends got it for me. At the end of the year, he asked me if I wanted him to write in my yearbook. I told him since my dad had just been laid off, I wasn't able to get one. His response was, "I wish I knew. I would have gotten you one." He never returned to school the next year. There were plenty of rumors, but the truth was he got a DUI over the summer and was too embarrassed to come back. I didn't find that out until 3 years later, when my friend went to our local community college and had him as our college English professor. I am now 27, and all of these stories happened when I was 18 through 20. I have worked in a call center my entire adult life, and have talked to some weird and creepy people. To date, I have been proposed to 25 times for anything from getting the reference with someone's email address, to just having a sexy voice, to just reading the names of pornos in a nice voice. Yes, pornos. With one company, our customers could not order pay-per-view stories from their remotes. They had to call in and we would have to read each one to them. I have been offered the chance to be flown down to Phoenix to be shown the time of my life by a 65-year-old man. I was 18 at the time. I have been offered to be taken on a cruise around the world on a private multi-million-dollar yacht. Needless to say, there have been some pretty creepy phone calls. At one point, I was working for a major cell phone company's sales department. I got a call from a guy wanting to set up a service for him and his girlfriend. About halfway through the phone order, I hear, "Oh, hey, baby. No, not now. I'm on the phone with cell phone company. Oh wow, babe, no, hold on. I'm on the phone, babe. Then a massive amount of moaning and yeses, and a thud of which I assume was him dropping his phone. Now, with this company, we were under no circumstances allowed to hang up on someone without management approval. I am beet red at this point, and call my manager over and give him my headset and ask, "Can I please hang up?" He immediately says, "Yes, I'm sorry that happened," and proceeded to tell him the same story. He let me off the rest of the day and bought me lunch, so happy ending there. We had a guy that would call multiple times a day for a couple of days every other week. His name was Honey. He refused to talk to men. If he got a man, he would cuss them out, call them names and sexist nasty slurs, and hang up on them, then repeat the process and kept calling, until he got a woman. Now, here's where the creepiness happens. He would go through the beginning of the call like normal, and once the person he was talking to would get comfortable with him, he would start asking personal and sexual questions, which some people would answer because they didn't know what to do. He would ask questions like, were they single, what their orientation was, what was their favorite position, etc. Management was aware of this caller and would eventually block his number. He would just get a new number and keep calling back. After a few months, he was incorporated into the training. He kept calling back hoping to get someone new, because all the people that had been there for a while refused to talk to him and would just hang up on him. I worked for this company for 2 years, and he kept calling the entire time. An announcement would go out as soon as we got a call from him so we would know and be prepared. This next story is the bad one. Like, really bad. And got the caller banned from using our company for life and had a lawsuit filed against him for sexual and verbal harassment. I will have to provide some more intricate background on this so you understand the situation. So by this time, I had been with this particular company for a year and moved to their back office where we would resolve the issue and take escalated calls. There are some issues we just can't fix, and the system has to reset overnight, and the issue will correct itself, such as the issue this customer was upset about. State taxes did not populate, please try again later. This particular error happens near the end of the day and has to auto-fix itself overnight. At the time this call happened, it was close to closing time, which was 8 p.m. There are not many people on the shift, and most of them are inexperienced, as not a lot of people want to be at work at 8:30 on a Friday night. Now, the way our department is set up, there has to be 2 floor walker resources to assist the sales team. And when I was in the back office, there had to be 2 people there to answer calls that needed escalation or fixing. A senior rep who takes calls we have to escalate, and a manager. This guy calls in and is completely normal and wants to place an order, and the rep he was talking to was a sweet young girl who had only been out of training for a week. His order ends up getting the state tax error I told you about earlier, and he starts saying some nasty sexually related things to her. She can't handle it and called the floor walker over to take the call. The floor walker comes over and takes over the call and tries to explain to him that there isn't anything we can do until tomorrow morning, when the system resets. He, of course, wasn't happy and started to say nasty things to her as well. What are these nasty things you keep talking about, you ask? Hold on, we will get there when I take over the call. This particular floor walker has a reputation of blowing things out of proportion, so when she escalated the call to me and told me he was pissed and saying inappropriate things, I didn't believe her. I get on the phone and give my opening statement of, "Thank you for holding, my name is Leneva with cell phone company, back office support, how can I help you?" Let me stop there and say we are 10 minutes from closing. I have a migraine and I am not in the best of moods. This is where it all starts to get interesting, and to this day is the worst call I have taken. He immediately yells at me, "I told that little bitch fucking everyone and their mother not to put me on hold, and the little ball sucker did it anyway. And now I'm talking to another bitch who knows absolutely jack fucking shit and just going to fuck everyone there before helping me. Fucking great." I was of course shocked and didn't know what to say at first. I regained my composure and say, "I'm sorry you have been transferred, but I am the only one who can fix your problem and see about completing your order. If you could keep the call professional, it would allow me to assist you and resolve your problem." He comes back at me and says, Professional? You want me to keep the call professional? The cunt whore wants me to keep this professional. I will not keep this fucking call professional, you fucking little bitch. I don't care whose balls you have fondled, whose dick you have to suck, whose cunt you need to eat, but you aren't going to put me on hold, and you are going to get me my phones tomorrow. I try to explain what needs to happen, and he is getting angrier and more creative with his name-calling and sexually explicit insults. By this time, I'm 30 minutes into this call, and just about tired of this shit. I put him on hold and ask my manager if I can hang up on this guy, and he doesn't even look up from his computer in solitaire game and tells me no. I try to explain why, and he just interrupts me and says if you can't handle it, transfer it to Heather, and she will handle it. I try to push back and say I'm extremely uncomfortable transferring this call to her. He doesn't care. Surprise, surprise. I call Heather over and explain what is going on, and she's like, "Oh, fun." As soon as she takes over my desk, I hear him give it to her with both barrels full. She doesn't take shit from anyone. She rose her voice at him and told him he was going to listen to her whether he liked it or not. He wasn't having it. I could hear him screaming obscene things at her. She mutes the mic, walks over to our manager, is about to burst out of sheer anger. She said, "Nate, look at me. I've been listening to this bullshit for 5 minutes. You will dial in and give me permission to hang up, or I am reporting you to HR for making Leneva and I sit through this." He was shocked and dialed in. Not 30 seconds after Heather got back to my desk, he got his ass up and ran to the phone and hung up. Nate asked us to stick around while he apologized and called the department head. He had the call pulled from the system, escalated up to the department head, who he had come back into the office about 45 minutes after closing to listen to the call. The department head didn't even get 5 minutes before he sent it up the ranks. It eventually got to the CEO and legal department. I don't know what happened from there, but my manager let me do anything I wanted and said I never had to get permission to hang up on anyone ever again. I have had other experiences, but this is the worst. I apologize for the last story being so explicit. This is just a taste of what I had to endure for at least 30 minutes. There are others I may tell at some point, none this bad. Thank you for reading. Just wanted to send you a quick premonition story I have of my own. When I was 5 years old, I dreamt that when I was a young adult, before 21, I would have a baby girl with the man I was to spend the rest of my life with. He would, however, not be able to be present for her infancy. I would then, almost 2 years later, have a boy with the same man, and again, he wouldn't be able to be there. I would also have both of my children sequestered from the household despite it being mine. Fast forward to my adulthood. I met my spouse when I was 18. We had our first child, a girl, when I was 20 while he was deployed. We then 18 months later had a boy while he was deployed. My father-in-law had moved in with my kids and I. We did not get along, and I kept my kids with me in my bedroom and only came out to leave until we moved.